With the first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Trophy Chase, Arizona.
with the second pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select
Cody Smith, Houston, Texas. The fantasy draft room is now on the clock.
Welcome to the Fantasy Draft Room. I am Chase, and with me, as always, my man Cody. We got round 3 of our 4-round 2023 rookie mock kicking off here.
Round 3 that we're breaking down, but definitely not round 3 that we have done. We've done so many of these, but it is round 3 that we're bringing to y'all, recapping the Destination Devy Patreon.com/allgas 4-round 2023 rookie mock 3.0 for TFDR.
So we'll jump right in. Please like, please subscribe. We need that for the algorithm. Give us some comments in chat of what you think of these picks. So let's kick things off here with the first round. Bijan Robinson, I don't even want to talk about him anymore because he's just there. But we do have a surprise at the 102 right off the bat. A little bit of a surprise. Will Levis being picked here at the 102. Are you okay with Will Levis being propped up to the 102? I mean, he's been ranged from the actual first pick in the NFL draft, and we've seen him kind of fall to the late teens in some of these actual NFL mocks. How do you feel?
You know, our guy McNutted, the tear down king, the guy over at Shit Show, he is Mike's very in on Will Levis. Caught one of their AMAs recently, and he is all the way bought into Will Levis. The problem that I have is the rest of the fantasy community is not. There are people out there saying, I will legitimately not draft him until round 3 just because they hate him as a prospect. He doesn't fit their numbers. He doesn't fit their model, whatever the reason. They hate Will Levis. And because of that, I can't personally draft Will Levis at the 102, but I mean, we see what the NFL is saying about this guy. He is a pure traits guy. The NFL loves, that he's not even a statue quarterback, but he is that guy. He has the size, he has the body, he has the arm, and people think they will mold him into their franchise quarterback in the league. I'm not going to be surprised if Will Levis is a top 5 pick, maybe even, like you said, the top pick of the NFL draft. And if that happens, I can't fault Mike here for taking Will Levis at the 102, but because of what the fantasy community is saying about Will Levis, I can't personally put him up at the 102, the first quarterback off the board.
Yeah, it feels a lot like Zach Wilson, not in the talent portion of it, but just purely in the fact that Zach Wilson, everyone's like, oh, he shouldn't be the number 2 pick in the draft, right? He shouldn't be. And people don't feel that way about Will Levis, right, wrong, or otherwise. That is the psychology around Will Levis, is that he shouldn't be the top pick. People have their biases towards Stroud or Young, or think that Anthony Richardson's tools are a little bit better, and that if you're going to take a gamble on somebody, those are the guys you gamble on. If he's the 101, I'm not going to be like, that's a terrible pick. If he ends up being the 4th quarterback off the board, I'm not taking him as the first quarterback off the board in my rookie draft. So from what we know so far, it is a little bit of a reach for me right now. But hey, in the end, the way I look at this draft is it's typically the 4 quarterbacks right after Bijan, typically. If you want to mix and match and take your preference, feel free. But you're right. If things don't go well for Will Levis, it's going to be very hard to trade him away to somebody.
It is, but like we were also saying, as you're saying, he's not we shouldn't be taking him at the 102. We were also saying Herbert shouldn't be taken in the first round at one point. Like we cannot evaluate quarterbacks. So like you said, nobody can evaluate quarterbacks, because I truthfully believe that it is one of the positions that it is 98% of what's upstairs and about 2% of what your actual physical capabilities are. You need that, but you also need so much upstairs. You need the processing ability. You need to be a leader for your team. You need to be so much stuff that you just can't measure with statistics at the quarterback position. So if you want to have Will Levis at the 102, I can't fault you. I personally have made a switch. I would actually have CJ Stroud now at my first quarterback off the board.
All right.
But do I have anything to back that up with factually? Can I look inside of CJ Stroud and see if he has that dog mentality, that everything that you need of a franchise quarterback? No, I can't do that. I'm just going to go off the operation and the facts that I have. CJ Stroud's my one, but at this point, anybody could be my one.
Yep. So your guy CJ Stroud does come out for the 3 spot. JSN actually jumps a couple of the quarterbacks here and hops up into the 4 slot. So the first wide receiver off the board, then Bryce Young, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Anthony Richardson. Do you have any issue with any of these skill players jumping a couple of the quarterbacks? I was a little surprised to see someone jump Bryce Young personally, but Richardson's kind of a toss-up for me right now.
Again, I'm still on the board that all the quarterbacks should go 102 through 105.
Yep.
The quarterback position is scarce in the market that we live in right now. If I could get out of this draft, I think I could trade Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson. If assuming they both get the capital, I think I could trade them 1-for-1 straight up for each of these guys that go off before them. So I'm going to use the scarcity of the position to my advantage. I think they should go off 1-2 through 1-5, but these are 2 of the premier prospects in our rookie draft this year. I don't have any true problem with JSN or Jahmyr Gibbs going off before the quarterbacks.
Well, and while we're in this area, we had a question on YouTube here in the comments asking about the 103 specifically. An individual has a 12-team Superflex start 10, tight end premium. It's 1.5, so nothing too major, but has the 103 and the 108 this year, along with 3 firsts next year. Has a good core. He's trying to figure out what to do with this 103 is really what he's trying to figure out with. Has a good core, has I believe it's Tua and T-Law at quarterback. So a little bit of questions about Tua, and then has a good running back room. Walker, ETN, Dobbins, Akers. Wide receiver has Lamb, Waddle, DK, Devonta Smith. Overall pretty set. And I think he has like TJ Hawkinson at tight end. What do you want to do with this 103? I mean, I feel like we just kind of covered 102 through 105 pretty much is a lock for quarterback if draft capital stands. Stick with that, keep it, roll the dice on a quarterback this year, or do you trade out of that pick? What would you be doing with that 103?
I'm a guy that does not trust rookies. So if I have that 103, I'm trying to package that up with Tua. We just had the news come out today that he has cleared concussion protocol. Maybe you can use that and a little bit of, we've had reports coming out that Miami is fully invested in Tua moving forward. So, Tua is still going in the top 12, 13 quarterbacks off the board in startups. So can I use that 103 in Tua? Can I package that up to get up into the top 6 quarterback range? I mean, I've seen Lamar Jackson go in the back, like 9th quarterback off the board. Can I package up Tua in the 103 to go get Lamar? This is a similar deal to one of the deals we highlighted last week on our trade show, where I packaged up Bryce Young and Trey Lance. Unfortunately, it looks like Trey Lance has a legitimate shot at starting the next year because of the injury to Brock Purdy now. But I mean, substitute that for Tua all you want, and that's about the same process deal. So I would much rather get into that tier of quarterback if I can. I would send off that deal for all of those top 9 quarterbacks, top 7 quarterbacks, whatever your cutoff is. Send that 103 and that Tua package for all of those quarterbacks to get me locked into T-Law and that quarterback. That's a sound, very, very sound QB room if I can do that. If I can't do that, then I try to just straight swap the 103 for guys like Daniel Jones. I try to get Jared Goff in a package. I try to get Kirk Cousins plus. People seem to hate Dak Prescott right now. I've seen the 103 go above Dak Prescott. I would much rather have Dak Prescott than the chance of what CJ Stroud or Bryce Young could become right now. So those are the things I do the top tier first, and then I'd move into that secondary range, see if I could do that. If you're forced to make the pick, take the quarterback. It's probably not going to be the worst outcome for you, but that's where I'm at with that process. Do you have a difference of opinion there?
Not really. I definitely agree with you when it comes to if you have to take the pick. For me, you take a quarterback. Don't draft for need necessarily. You're going to be able to trade that quarterback for whatever you're looking for at some point. I'm definitely going up first. Give me Tua in a first, and try to go after Joe Burrow. Try to go after any top tier. Send it off to the top 4 first, and then go to the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. There's got to be someone that's willing to take you up on that. That's the way I would look at that too. I'd be shocked if you can't get that tier up done, especially now that Tua has cleared protocol. Tom Brady retired, so with that news, that did just happen today as well. So there's no more rumor of him coming into Miami and taking over the team. I feel pretty good with that. I feel like you should be able to do that. Maybe trying to go after Kyler or Dak, and just kind of surviving the season until Kyler's healthy. Yeah, I mean, all of those seem like pretty good plays to make. Start at the top and then go from there is the angle I would go with. And obviously, this individual does know us. If he happens to hear this and tries to make these trades, shoot us a DM on Twitter. We can definitely walk you through it and see what's going on with those trade negotiations. But that's how I approach that as well. So let's wrap up this first round here. Like we mentioned, A-Rich at the 107, QJ, Addison, A-Chain, Charbonnet, and Downs to wrap up this first round. We got 4 wide receivers, 4 running backs here. I was kind of surprised to see 4 wide receivers. Downs kind of snuck in there, but it's pretty much status quo here. Any issues with any of these guys?
No,
anyone you want to highlight either?
Don't have any issues with any of these guys. Downs is probably the one that you would say is a little bit of an outlier in terms of like ADP. Him sneaking up into the back end of the first round here at the 112. It's a bunch of guys, and we're just banking on draft capital. Like if Josh Downs is the one that gets the first round draft capital, then he's going to be the one who goes here. If it's Jalen Hyatt, Rashee Rice, a bunch of other guys, they could be the ones here at the 112. I don't have any problem with it. Obviously, I would like to highlight my love of Zach Charbonnet. Once again, me getting my RB2 at the 111 is an absolute smash success. Just absolute steal. So that has to be highlighted. Yeah. But other than that, no, nothing outstanding from the first round, other than I would have the quarterbacks at the 102 through 105. Gibbs and JSN with the positional advantage just aren't there yet for me.
Yep, I'm with you, at least at this point in the process here. So let's pop open the second round here. We do have Michael Mayer coming off, first tight end off the board. Then we have Kendre Miller, Sean Tucker, Rashee Rice, Tank Bigsby at the 205. Jalen Hyatt, Zay Flowers, Kayshon Boutte, Izzy Abanikanda. Abanikanda. I had it. I was like, I'm going to nail this time. Nope. Zach Evans, Roschon Johnson, and Sed Tillman. I'm mad at myself for that one. Anyways, again, looks pretty good here. Tank Bigsby jumped up a little bit. Rashee Rice being the 6th, receiver off the board, or 5th receiver off the board, feels pretty standard. There's a lot of hype about Zay Flowers right now. I mean, you've watched a little bit. I've watched some of him as well. The dude, he's fucking fast.
Yeah, he is very fast. And more than that, obviously we're getting ready to do our top 5 wide receivers here right now. So I went through, did all my statistical analysis with what data we do have at this point. And unweighted, I have 9 categories that I grade wide receivers on statistically, and unweighted, Zay Flowers came out as my wide receiver 1 by a good bit too. He came out 5 points higher than any of my other wide receivers. Will that stand after we weight everything for what it should be? No, he played at Boston College. You can't translate that production to a guy like JSN playing in the Big Ten, or any of these guys that are actually playing at more power schools that are going to face competition every single week. But Man, Zay Flowers is nice. He's probably going to be my top guy out of this little group of four that we have between Downs, Rice, Hyatt, and Flowers. Boute's, I didn't see anything that has impressed me to the point where he is arguing for a place inside of that range.
Yeah, Zay Flowers within NFL circles, there have been a couple people that say that he reminds them of Antonio Brown. Slight, slender frame, a little bit smaller, but has that quick twitch, easy shiftiness, ability to break in and out, stop start ability, like all of that reminds them of Antonio Brown. So that is saying something. We'll see what his I don't have it on hand what his full measurements are. But I do think that is going to matter as far as his height goes. Not so much concerned about the weight. I think weight concerns at wide receiver are overblown at this point. I think we've kind of ruled that out. But height does matter. If he's 5'9", I don't know if necessarily he's going to have the same opportunity as if he's closer to 6 foot.
Well, Flowers came in at 5'9", 182.
So I mean, 180, which is much better than the 160. People say he looks like, but 5'9" is a concern. So length may matter. I mean, Brandon Cooks is 5'10", and he's made it work. So he's just a little bit shorter than that. So I do want to see what his arm size is and length and what he can actually do. But hey, he pops. Like he definitely stands out when he's on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he came in right above the coveted BMI of 26 that we like to see from a wide receiver. So he came in above that mark. Man, I haven't found anything other than the fact that he plays at Boston College to knock his film. So
Yep.
Let's get into some of these other prospects here. Let's move into a little bit of the running backs. Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker, Banakanda, Evans, Roschon. Any of these guys do you think are a little bit undervalued, overvalued here in the second round?
I mean, after our truly the top 5 we have listed out, which is the Bijan, Gibbs, A-Chain, Charbonnet, and Kendre. You can mix and match the order however you want. Tucker feels about right there at 6. Tank is a little bit high. I don't see it. I feel like it's a little bit of the Devy bias or like what we saw in the past and the hope that we had for him. I think he's going to be a NFL running back, but he's just going to be a guy. I would definitely be taking Izzy over him. There's a guy that's not on the board yet that I'd be taking over him as well. So just to see that there's value in the third round is exciting. I mean, truly, any of these guys that you look at in this round from the running back position are going to hold fantasy value for you. Zach Evans included. I know people have their biases where they love him and where they hate him. I still think he's going to be an NFL running back that's going to get consistent carries just because his size and what kind of skill set he does hold. Same thing with Roschon Johnson. Not necessarily going to be lead backs or monsters or anything like that. So I would definitely have Roschon, Evans, and Bigsby a little bit lower. I like Izzy, and then I also like a guy that we'll touch on here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, Roschon's one of the guys that I definitely need to take a circle back on. I haven't watched too much of Roschon yet. Obviously, whenever you're watching Texas, you're watching it for Bijan more than likely. But we have had reports coming out saying that like Roschon could be a top 3 back off the board in the NFL draft. And if that's the case, we definitely need to be on high alert for Roschon Johnson sneaking up here into the top of the second. Other than that, though, yeah, I'm with you on the Tank Bigsby thing. I think he's probably more of just a guy. Zach Evans, we'll see how his game translates. I didn't see too much from him that really impressed me. Banakanda, he's a straight line fast burner. If he's going to hit the second lane or if he's going to hit the second level, he's probably going to the end zone. But other than that, he lacks a little bit of inside running twitch ability that I like to see, or power ability as well that I like to see from all of my running backs. But other than that, I don't have too much of a problem. These running backs in this range, there's just a large group of these guys, and it's going to be a lot dependent upon where they land and what draft capital they get.
So then I want to look at the wide receivers outside of Flowers. Here we have, Rice, Hyatt, Boutte, and Tillman. Boutte, he's going to be one that I keep going back to. I'm so conflicted on him. And you brought up some things today that just really kind of stood out. Best season was 750 yards. I just don't know what to make of Kayshon Boutte. I know there's the off the field concerns and his motivation concerns and things like that. He went from being a top 2 to 3 wide receiver in this class to what is probably the biggest question mark Are you comfortable taking him at the 208? Is this about where he belongs?
Man, I'm not comfortable taking Kayshawn in the second round, to be honest. Until the NFL
Ooh.
draft proves me wrong, I'm not
Okay.
comfortable with Kayshawn Butte. If the NFL proves me wrong and he's a second round, third round, top of the fourth round pick, I'd say if he's a second or third round pick, I'll circle back. But if he's anything lower, and we've seen a lot of mock drafts come out where Kayshawn is not in that range. If he's not in that range, I'm just going to completely fade. I mean, I know he dealt with some injuries throughout his career. But yeah, like you said, his best season yards wise was his rookie season where he had 45 receptions for 735 yards. His 2021 season got cut short, unfortunately. In that season, he had 509 yards, but 9 touchdowns. So, but like never exceeding 735 yards as a collegiate athlete. He had a 9 touchdown season, but like I went through and I was trying to find his breakout year, and I'm like, where do I even place a breakout year for this guy? He just, do I put it at 735 yards and 5 touchdowns? That doesn't feel like a breakout. 509 yards and 9 touchdowns. Did do that in 6 games. So that's where I placed the breakout year. Unfortunately, we couldn't see the fruition of it come to the full season because of injury, but then he dogs the senior year. I just can't buy into this guy unless I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, I actually wanted to pull up his freshman stats if I was able to, because I'm pretty sure
45
even though
receptions, 735 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
he had a 300-yard game as well. And that was the thing I wanted to look at. Yes, he did. He had 314 catch, 308 yards, and 3 touchdowns against Ole Miss. So it was SEC competition. But still, you're talking about almost half of his production being in one single game. And obviously, if you can put up 300 yards, that's spectacular, right? Like that's something that you look for, and you're like, wow, that's a flash you want to see as a freshman. We just didn't see anything materialize from there. So upside potential for me is definitely there. But yeah, right now, until proven otherwise, he's in a void. If I swing and miss on Butte, I'm okay with that. Or if he's available in the third, I think I'm looking at that. So speaking of the third, anything else you want to touch on before we jump in there?
No, throw it up. Let's see what we got here. Started off with Kincaid out of Utah, the tight end. He's been getting a lot of buzz. He's been mocked up in the first round. A lot of people have Mayer. I've seen Mayer as tight end 3 in this class compared to Kincaid at the tight end 1. So Kincaid's definitely an interesting prospect. After that, a couple of other running backs go in: Chase Brown, Dwayne McBride, and then wide receiver Marvin Mims. Anything you've got as takeaways from the beginning of the third round?
No, I mean Kincaid. We'll see. We've seen NFL mocks put him in the first round, second round. Medical concerns about him potentially. Nothing serious, but makes NFL teams question. Chase Brown, love him. I'd definitely be taking him over the Roschon, Zach Evans, Tank Bigsby's, and there's another name even farther on this board that I didn't realize how low he fell. I'm a bit surprised with, but McBride's just a guy, in my opinion. Kenny McIntosh, we'll see where he lands. But I'm more excited about Xavier Hutchinson and Tajay Spears than I am the first half of this third round, really.
Yeah. Chase Brown, Xavier Hutchinson, and Tajay Spears are the ones that I would highlight from this round.
Yep.
Chase Brown, I'd have at the 2-5. I'd have him above all of the running backs that are taken before him.
Yep.
He is an absolute grinder. He does have a lot of wear and tear on him, but at the running back position, I don't care. Just give me the production, and I think Chase Brown is going to be the one out of these guys that probably gives me the production in the NFL. Tajay Spears, man, we're just coming off the Senior Bowl updates, and what did he weigh in at? He was 5'9", 204. Whew.
He looked 190. Like we thought he was going to be.
I legitimately thought he was going to be like 185, 190.
Yeah.
And him weighing in at 204, that is fucking tank status, and he can burn. I only have hopes, dreams, and aspirations that Devon Achane can even mimic 204 whenever he finally weighs in.
Oh, for weigh-ins, yeah.
Tajay weighing in at 204, man, I'm going to be tested on my process to not have Tajay, like he's going to be up at that Chase Brown level where if he gets the draft capital and apparently he's showing out at the Senior Bowl too, like he might end up being close to my top like 5, top 6 running back in the class.
Ray GQ is there right now, and he was kind of giving some updates and saying that NFL scouts were saying that he, during drills today or during I think some of the practice reps, he made a cut that like some of these NFL scouts have never seen before, which is incredible to say. So really excited to see what that means, how this week translates for his draft capital and his his boost. But obviously back half of the third won't happen if he gets draft capital. He's going to be right up there, like you said, Chase Brown, Tajay Spears, and he may even jump, those guys as well as we see this draft process go on.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's a better Tony Pollard, but he might be a better Tony Pollard.
He might be.
Probably not.
But there's a chance.
But he's a goddamn burner, and at 204, man, that boosts his draft capital potentially and his fantasy stonks way up. After that, we do have 2 quarterbacks go. We got Hendon Hooker and Tanner McKee at the end of the 3rd round. We also got 2 running backs, Deuce Vaughn, Chris Rodriguez, and my pick here at the 311, Kraft, the tight end out of South Dakota State, not North Dakota State like I normally like to say. That pick would actually switch with what we've learned from Senior Bowl as well.
Yes.
That pick would be Musgrave.
Yep.
Guy I have not heard of before, but that pick would have been Musgrave if I had the information when we did this mock that I do now.
And speaking of Musgrave, I just pulled up the 4th round so we can wrap this thing up. Musgrave did come out 2 picks later after you took Tucker Kraft. Yeah, Luke Musgrave, it's the physical specimen that he is. 6'5", I think he's 245.
6'5", 255, and runs a 4.5.
Dude's a freak and just climbing up draft boards. The rumor is that after today's practices that his agent is pulling him. He is not going to practice anymore. He is not going to play in the Senior Bowl, supposedly. We'll see how that goes, because he has done enough for his draft stock to actually be considered either the top tight end or the second tight end in this class, if I'm not mistaken, if that was correct.
That screams day 1 capital.
Yeah.
And there was day 1 capital.
There was already rumors that 5 tight ends that were going to go off in the 1st and 2nd round anyway. So he was one of them, but it was more like he was going to be a 2nd round pick. So we'll see. We'll see how this continues to progress, how the story outlines, and kind of what happens from here. I'm just going to read off this 4th round. We'll touch on individual players. We have Trey Palmer, Eric Gray, who Eric Gray has shown out at the Senior Bowl. Who's this Allen? Was this Allen a placeholder pick?
Let me pull up the remainder. I know we had Sam Laporta and Xavier Valladay is that placeholder pick.
So that's actually running back Xavier Valladay from Arizona State, Mo Ibrahim, Jaden Reed, Parker Washington, Darnell Washington, Tyler Scott, Raheem Jarrett. This pick here, Toon, is actually Sam Laporta, which our Iowa guy, McNutted, took his Iowa tight end. Had to. And then we have Stetson getting arrested Bennett as the final pick in this draft to wrap up this mock. Couple players to highlight here that have kind of stood out so far. I'm going to just touch on Trey Palmer real quick, and we can jump into the other guys. My Nebraska guy
on the graphic. Talk about the guy on the thumbnail.
I mean, he broke school records at Nebraska. He so far this week at the Senior Bowl has set the fastest miles per hour on field, which is 21.45, I believe is what it was. I'm obviously biased as a Nebraska fan, so I try to leave it out of it. And obviously he's going in the 4th round, so there's not a lot of high hopes really for him. But hey, if he can get 3rd round draft capital, I'd be excited for what that potential could be for him. He's a burner. He's got speed. He's got quick twitch ability. He had a nice hezzy fade route that he did today, where he just broke off on the corner and got 10 yards of separation. The ball was underthrown, and he still was able to catch that in stride and wander into the end zone. So really like Trey Palmer and what he could be. He also has that dog in him. He's got that swagger of a number one wide receiver. He may not be that at the next level, but he has that swag. So, who else you want to touch on here in this fourth round?
I think the only other guy that we should probably touch on here, Mo Ibrahim was one of my guys. Came in super undersized for what I thought he would be. I think he came in at like 5'10", 200. He does not run like that. He runs like he is 6 foot 220, 225. Like I comped him to a Brian Robinson type who's just going to slam his head forward. You tell him a gap to run in, he's going to run in that gap and probably get 3 yards. I don't see it working at that size in the NFL. Unfortunately for Mo, I don't see it going and translating. Jaden Reed is probably the one that I want to highlight here as the wide receiver. He's a Senior Bowl standout so far from what we've heard. A guy out of the MAC conference in his freshman year, Western Michigan, and then Michigan State for the last 3 years. Apparently is just balling out at the Senior Bowl. And so he's definitely a guy to watch. We'll see if he jumps up into this third round here in our next rookie mock. Once we get all of the Senior Bowl practice reports out, we see if he plays in the game, balls out there. Could see Jaden Reed being a big riser out of Michigan State.
Yeah, 6 foot 185, I believe, is what he ended up weighing in at, if I'm not mistaken, or right about there. And what helps out his ability is not only, I mean, he had over 20 miles an hour too. He was actually one of the fastest wide receivers up there with Trey Palmer, and he is a punt returner too. So he's going to have that value where he's going to be on rosters. He's going to be on the field, which helps out a ton. He's going to be active on game days. I believe he had 1,000 yards his junior season, and then this past season with 55 receptions had 636 yards, 5 touchdowns. But yes, super talented, and he is absolutely shining in the Senior Bowl practices so far. Games do matter, but so far, no one has had anything bad to say about Jaden Reed.
Official weigh-in was 5'10", 191 at the Senior Bowl.
191. Okay, so a little bit heavier, a little bit shorter, but all in a good way. So, Yeah, looking forward to that. Any last ones you want to touch on here before we wrap out?
No, man, wrap us on out of here.
Perfect, man. Yeah, this was Rookie Mock 3.0. Let us know who you like, what you don't like, how much you hate Will Levis at the 102. If you want to be part of these mocks, like Cody mentioned at the start, patreon.com/allgas. Be a part of this Destination Devy community. There is not one that is more tapped in the industry. So thank you so much for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.